Hello, this is the gotConsentpodcast show for October 1st, 2010. I'm your host, Mark Reinhardt.
I'm Ross Givens.
And this is Adam Heyman.
Yes, we're two people today. And so, we got some stuff to talk about today. We have more of the food bill, don't we?
Yep.
And Adam had a correction on CPS actions, if you want to talk about it. No? Okay.
Well,
the only thing I'm going to say about that then is apparently he was only a tad bit wrong. They care about making sure things are right now since, was that kid, Robert what?
Robert Manuel.
Robert Manuel was killed by his mother and her boyfriend.
Yes.
Yeah, so congratulations, at least you're doing your job this time, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Right. In the food bill, in fact, I covered some of it on the Acoustic Freeze channel. Mm-hmm. In Title 4 of the bill, in which it's called Miscellaneous Provisions.
Yeah, and you guys do like this, not like this. You'll see it on the video, you guys actually watch. But go on.
It will cost $825 million to increase the staff of the FDA. Mm-hmm. It will
put it in Homeland Security too, right?
Yeah, I'll put it under Homeland Security, which, in my
opinion,
the
FDA will be under Homeland Security.
At least in this one particular instance, yeah.
Yes.
You know
what the?
Well, here's the thing about that. They have the Homeland Security thing about against foreign aggressives and foreign aggressives, foreign terrorists, and domestic terrorists, right?
Right.
Here's an idea. How about we don't fuck with people overseas, and they have no reason to fuck with us. And those foreign aggressors who still want to fuck with us, then we have total moral clearance to kill the fuckers. How about that?
I would be all for that.
So much for my trying to hold the language back in check to keep it together as a way of getting ourselves in practice for being on the radio.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I'm the boss here, and I just screwed up the whole freaking thing. Sorry about that, guys. Don't worry about it. Well, we have plenty of practice since... How many subscribers do we have right now? No, don't tell me. I don't want to cry in my sleep.
No, on the YouTube channel we have plenty. On Blog Talk we only have one.
Hey, subscriber and from Blog Talk, do us a big favor. Tell your friends. You know, hand out flyers saying, talking to us.
Oh, and
wow, that's taking shameless promotion. He's downright begging.
If you actually do enjoy us, please, by all means, go ahead and do it. If you don't, well, please stay with us. All right, seriously though, let's get on with the stories.
Yeah.
So
well, actually, I got.
How the hell is somebody raising their own garden, which most people do as a hobby, a threat to national security?
I'll be honest. That was a question I'm asking, and I just reported only on the contents. I'm doing the in-depth stuff later on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't it 60 years ago a patriotic act to do such a thing?
Well, yeah, but the thing about that too is that it's not so much this part of provision here, right? It's more about getting a license to have your own garden, right?
Why should you have to have a license to grow your own food?
That's a good question, Adam. Perhaps we should grow our own food without getting a license and go... Because the federal government says we have to, because the Homeland Security needs us to have licensure so we don't have to buy Monsanto food. And that's conspiratorial, but
I can double check that. I do have the copy of the bill.
It's very likely that Monsanto, the biggest company about food production in the United States currently, apparently, is behind the whole getting a license to have your own garden and stuff like that.
In fact, I'm waiting on calls back for a more in-depth piece on this topic from several of the local businesses involving organic food stuff. And not only that, Title I specifically puts it under Homeland Security. When I read Title II, and I was going to do the vid on Title II, Title II, I can tell you right now, basically establishes a food emergency network that is heavily based under Homeland Security. I'm assuming.
And you said before
we started, a food emergency network, a way of addressing food food distribution in the time and event of a crisis, that would make sense because FEMA's been moved under Homeland Security.
Right.
And I could understand that aspect of it being under Homeland Security, of just trying to maintain ways of distributing food.
Most in this bill.
Well, there's a problem with that too, but go on.
Most in this bill, Adam, is where, in most of the language I have found in reading this thing, the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the USDA Secretary has to consult the Secretary of Homeland Security on any foodborne related illness outbreaks.
Yeah, which make it, well, that's something there too, because that'd make it much easier to move the bad food around, essentially, especially when you have a license to grow your own garden, right? Anyways, no, I'm offhand in there. It's something I haven't gotten cleared in my head yet, but here's the thing about that. You'd see an emergency distribution center for basically food, right? Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, if they're going to have that emergency distribution center, they must make sure that food goes into it. Mm-hmm. And the easy way to make sure you have that is by controlling it when it's not an emergency either. Yeah, I know. I'm not exactly happy with it either.
No, see, like I said, as part of an emergency response, and as in a local natural disaster,
no, I'm not saying
it would
I'm not
make
saying the idea.
sense.
I'm not saying the idea doesn't make sense, Adam. I'm saying that.
But it sounds like they are trying to way overstep their bounds.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's not that the idea doesn't make sense, Adam. It does make sense, right? Mm-hmm. The fact of the matter is, you can't trust these people to do it in an honorable sense, I guess you can say.
Here's a question. When's the last time you've met somebody who trusted our government to do something besides lie to them, steal from them, or cheat them?
Obama supporters, Bush supporters, Chris. Yes and no is still very much in the status paradigm, and most of us really are on the show anyways, but to some certain extent, right? I mean, you can even say I am, and I only want to go make sure it's like more of a market-based system. But my parents...
Most everybody I talk to honestly expects little more of our government than that they will lie to them, steal from them, and cheat them.
Well, it's even...
And I'm left asking, why the hell do we still keep putting the same people in power then?
Well, that's a good question, quite frankly. And in a lot of cases, it's simply because most people actually trust the people they put in office in the first place. And so we have positions where people in Idaho just hate the hell out of Pelosi. We have Democrats who hate Pelosi here. And the fact of the matter remains, the people in Pelosi's district love her.
Here's another thing that in the food bill that it covers. It will cost $825 million. That's directly on Title IV.
Okay.
And they're expected to increase the amount of money as far as I'd have to go get the copy of the bill again.
Right.
Okay. Why are we trying to spend more money than we have when we're broke as a country? Well,
you go into a Keynesian economics idea that when the government has to stimulate when private industry isn't picking up the way that they think it should. And that's a problem in itself because it's overlooking what might have been used. That money might have been gone to in the first place, right?
Okay, as a short-term stimulus,
no.
It's a valid theory that is recognized by a good many professionals who study this. So, as a short-term stimulus, fine. But this doesn't sound like a short-term program.
And
it's going to increasingly more and more stimulus as time goes on. And it's not even the short-term stimulus is a good idea, quite frankly. But that goes into Austrian economics, and unfortunately, I'm not good enough at this point to argue its semantics right now.
I don't know. I can't say that I agree or disagree with it. I can say that there are a good many prominent economists who do believe in the theory, so there must be some merit to its argument.
Well, consider Adam, consider the fact that.
But there are also
a great deal of the economics current situation are Keynesianists, even back in Bush's time frame, right. Before that, and the fact that if you want a position, work for the government, for example, right, you almost had to have that kind of outlook. So we're not talking about a situation where it's even true, it's just simply popular.
However, I'm pretty sure there's got to be competing theories as well.
I mentioned the Austrian school. People are more likely to know the Marxian ideas instead over Austrians.
But I mean, yeah, so my biggest problem with it is the thought of, when I run out of money, I have to stop spending.
Yes.
Or bad things happen.
Yes.
When my household runs out of money, they have to stop spending or bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
My extended family, when we all pool our money, when we run out of money, we have to stop spending or bad things happen. Every time I go to a larger and larger group, this still holds true that if you keep spending money that you don't have, bad things happen. I have to then ask, exactly how big of a group do you have to get to before that stops being the case?
Well, I have to say it'd be not necessarily the largest of the group as much as it had to be about what you're able to do when it gets to the point where someone stops lending you money, essentially. And the U.S. federal government, even the states and local governments, are usually strong enough, basically, to use the barrel point of a gun and quote unquote legitimately do so, to make sure that their loans are continuing to come in.
Well, here's the thing. I was looking at some statistical figures on Idaho in terms of loans from the federal government. We are in an outstanding debt loan-wise to the United States federal government, at least as far as I know, on unemployment trust fund.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of these things too come to the fact that a lot of the reasons why money is being borrowed in the first place is to cover up budget shortfalls on things like unemployment, on food stamps, on things like this, right? On things that arguably the government should have nothing to do with that with. And I say arguably because, of course, I don't really believe a government should be doing any of this kind of stuff.
Well, I know this is a Chinese philosopher, but he did say something that a lot of
Which Chinese philosopher?
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu? Okay, go ahead.
Lao Tzu said about great leaders, and I'm going to paraphrase because I don't know the quote entirely. He said that great leaders will help take care of their people and mend broken bones.
Lao Tzu also said that the best kind of leader is one people don't know about, essentially. In a situation where in the country men don't know who rules over them, is best because that particular person, does not affect them in any way, shape, or form. And it goes as they know more about the person, and it shows how much more that person affects them. Essentially, right? I'm not even paraphrasing. I'm trying to explain to you. Like I remember him barely paraphrased.
A leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, "We did it ourselves."
There was also. You didn't hear that? I put my thumbs up, and that's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Well, when one has the sum total of human knowledge available at one's fingertips.
I would have it too, but my computer's still having its little issues today.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
It's funny too because when it comes to Chinese philosophers, I go back and forth between Lao Tzu and Confucius all the time. Confucius was a very traditional man, right?
Yeah.
And they can arguably go towards conservatism or libertarianism, depending on what you're looking at, right?
Yeah.
Lao Tzu is actually kind of interesting because later Taoists, right?
Yeah.
The wicked leader is he who the people despise. The good leader is he who the people revere. The great leader is he who the people say, "We did it ourselves."
Yes. Thank you, Adam. The Lao Tzu, later Taoists who actually become more statist. And unfortunately, a lot of these little things is that it seems to be some kind of corresponding that when it comes to people who believe in a great deal of personal liberty, right, tend also not necessarily to be really scientific about a lot of these endeavors.
Well, and also, I was going to segue to the point.
But they always think but from what their standpoint, there are very smart people.
Right, and I was going to segue to the point, bringing up Lao Tzu or Chinese philosophy, in a little opinion piece that I wrote on the future. Maybe we should all start learning Mandarin or having our kids learn Mandarin.
Actually, it's consideration that if you can, it's probably best to move to Southeast Asia currently. They are the ones growing at this point, apparently.
Well, I have...
Yeah, but they're also not so big on this whole individual rights theory.